Heaven and hell, words to me. When my time comes around, lay me gently in the cold dark ground. No grave.
I've read like what, 300 books in my entire life and I'm already 16? Do you know how long it would take me to read 13 million books?
But honey, you don't have to read every one of them.
Tricked you? No, I saved you.
Meditate, sway your soul to Jesus. Throw a punch, fall in love, give yourself a reason. Don't wanna drive another mile, wondering if you're breathing. So won't you stay, won't you stay, won't you stay with me?
All day, every day, therapist, mother maid, nymph, then a virgin, nurse, then a servant, just an appendage, lift to attendant, so that he never lifts a finger. 24/7 baby machine, so he can live out his picket fence dreams. It's not an act of love if you make her, you make me do too much labor.
Some of my favorite fantasy books you should read that are part of completed series, so you won't be left on a crazy cliffhanger, and we're going to throw in a little dash of dystopian and dark romance too. Let's start out with one of my favorite series to recommend. This is Kingdom of the Wicked. It is a completed 3-book trilogy, and it is going to follow a witch and a prince of hell. This is so good, and I don't see it all over Book Talk, so if you haven't read this yet, you should definitely add it to your TBR, especially if you're a witch girly. This is a young adult series, but honestly, in books 2 and 3, we get like borderline actual spice in here, so if you're looking for something like that, that's not overwhelmingly spicy, but it's still gonna get you heated, this is absolutely the series you need to check out. All right, up next we have the Fireborn trilogy. This is 3 books. It's a completed series, and it is for our Fourth Wing girlies. This is sort of what I would call the young adult version of Fourth Wing. This is a young adult book, so there's not spice in it, and this has dragons, dragon riders, romance. You've got excellent plot in here, politics, uprising, all of that good stuff, and it's only 3 books, so it's not going to take you your whole life to get through. It's not a crazy, like, dense high fantasy series. Absolutely add it to your TBR. This is a dark fantasy, dark academia. It's a completed trilogy, The Magicians, and this is one of my favorite series. So if you tried out the Atlas 6 and it wasn't for you, this is going to be like the better option to check out. There is romance in here and there is explicit content, so just be careful. This is still an adult series. This is more heartbreaking and dark and like dark humor. So as much as it's going to break your heart, it's going to make you sort of laugh out loud. If you enjoyed things like Harry Potter, Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe, Lord of the Rings when you were little, this sort of like makes fun of those types of things and inserts you in a world where like, what if they existed in the real world? What if that was real, and how would like a real person react to them? So our MMC in here is definitely flawed. He's not the most likable character. This is a little bit heavy, so reading all 3 of these back to back might be a little bit difficult, and it is for our emotional damage lovers. Let's move on to something a little less dark with the Caraval trilogy. We have Caraval, Legendary, and Finale. This is a completed trilogy, and it's the first trilogy you're going to read before the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, which we will talk about next. Caraval takes place before the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, and there will be spoilers in that series for this series. So if you're interested, read this one first. Caraval has games and trials. It has romance. It takes place in a carnival setting. It's young adult, so it's not spicy, but the romance is romancing. I absolutely fell in love with Julian. He was sort of giving me like Dorian Havillard vibes. I don't know if you're a Dorian girly, but you need to meet the MMC in here, and I definitely think you should try it out. Moving on to the next series in that universe is the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. So it originally was a duology, which were these 2 books right here, but there is a 3rd one that has been added, and it is the final book. I don't have it because originally it was only available in hardback, so I'm waiting to complete my like paperback collection here. This has an MMC named Jax in here, and for our Aaron Warner girlies, you're also gonna like Jax if you read Shatter Me. But this is a little more like fairy tale. It's not carnival, it's not that vibe. but it's romantasy. There is plenty of romance. And I feel like this is sort of essential for our like young adult fantasy girlies. Some more spicy fairies. This is Rhapsodic. It's book 1 in the Bargainer series. This is a completed series and it's spicy and it's fairies and it's a dark MMC that makes you think of Rhysand. So like if you just finished ACOTAR and you're like, what do I read next? Try this one out. This one's good. 4 books, it's done. I've read the first 2 and I'm absolutely in love. Like I have crazy high hopes for the last 2 books in the series. So if you have finished it, let me know what I'm in for. If you like fairies, but you're not really into crazy spice or romance, this is The Cruel Prince, The Folk of the Air trilogy. It is completed, The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, and The Queen of Nothing. This is fairies with a lot of politics. Now this is often like shown as a romantasy book. I don't think this is a romantasy book. There's like a little splash of romance, a little splash of enemies to lovers in here if that's your vibe. But this is way more story, plot, politics, main character development. This I had a little bit of a hard time reading, so this is not my personal favorite trilogy ever. It was beautiful, but it was a little bit of a struggle for me. So this is for our like heavy into the politics girlies, our book lovers who want a little bit more like serious plot instead of more like romance. Up next we have the Lady of Darkness series. This is a completed series and this is for our Throne of Glass girlies. So if you're in the midst of your Throne of Glass reading hangover, this is absolutely going to fill your void. It's so parallel to Throne of Glass, it's not even funny. So this is a little bit more adult. There are a few more spicy scenes overall in this series than there are in Throne of Glass. So if you want Throne of Glass with a little bit more like dusting of spice thrown in, this is a little more seasoned, if you know what I'm talking about. This is not an overall like spicy series, but there are multiple spicy scenes throughout the series. For our dystopian sci-fi girlies, maybe you're not looking for super fantasy romance or you just want something a little different. This is Red Rising. It is a trilogy. Yes, it is complete. This story is complete. So Red Rising has a universe. This is the first trilogy. It follows a main character named Darrow, and this is his story, his journey. It is done when you get to Morningstar, the arc, the journey. So this is the first trilogy. If you like this trilogy, this universe has another sequel series in it that takes place like years in the future. So this is complete, and if you feel complete, you can absolutely stop after these. And if you want to stay in the universe, you can move on to that sequel series that I think is going to be 4 books. The 4th book is not out yet. So that's not a completed series, which is why it's not on here. If you are a romantasy girly and you read Red Queen, this has a lot of similarities to Red Queen. This is like the sci-fi version. These 2 books are Games and Trials. So Hunger Games people, the Games and Trials in here are not the sort of like silly little fake Games and Trials that I've been seeing in like some romantasy books. These are real, deep, dark, emotional damage level Games and Trials. I think you should try it. And then finally, this is not fantasy or dystopian. This is actually a contemporary dark romance, but it is a completed series that is for our emotional damage lovers, which if you read romantasy and fantasy, I feel like you might be into emotional damage. So I'm gonna recommend this. This is a 3-book completed trilogy and it will 100% emotionally betray you. So this is not one to go into lightly. And it is a Robin Hood retelling, a modern day Robin Hood retelling. It's got a little bit of like a wide shoes moment going on in here, but this is dark. It is spicy. It is going to make you very upset. So if that's your vibe, this is the next series for you maybe. So absolutely recommend this, but be ready with a cute little happy romance to follow it up with.
I just can't come between them. They got their own thing. I wish he'd stop pretending. He won't let his phone ring for more than a couple seconds. Oh, I think maybe 2 hearts just falling in and out of love for something new. I wish that you could see them. Their faces lighten up. Their past is cold and empty.
I don't play World of Warcraft.
Butters, you said you're on your computer all the time.
Yeah, but I'm playing Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
We are fucked, and nobody seems to care! Oh my, we need a full factory fucking reset.
I have 5-star romance books that I will not stop recommending. These live in my head rent-free, and they are also all standalones, and we all need a good standalone book every once in a while. Of course, my first 5-star romance is Stuffed by the Were Turkey. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, for real now. So we have Marrow by Trisha Wolfe and Bryn Weaver. This is about 2 serial... Alrighty, one does like forensics, and the other one is a wildlife biologist. He does not realize she is also it is enemies to lovers, dark romance. Please check your trigger warnings. If you are a dark romance lover, you're probably going to love this book. It actually had something in it that I've never read before in another dark romance. So if you're looking for something that might push your boundaries in dark romance, I give this one a try. Only for Him by W. Winters. I talk about this book all the time because there's one scene in this book that just lives rent-free in my head, okay? It is a sub and blink relationship, and he tells her that if she says the safe word red at any point while they're together, he will make anything stop, whether they're, you know, being together, or if a situation's making her uncomfortable, or if they're talking about something that makes her uncomfortable. Like, no matter what, if she says red, everything comes to a stop. And she ends up saying it at one point, and the scene is just chef's kiss. It lives in my head rent-free. Every time I see this book out in public, it just brings back all of the emotions. Like if I see it at Target or Barnes & Noble. In the Likely Event by Rebecca Yarros. It's a military romance. Okay, it is just so good, so good. When I finished reading it, I sat on the bed, no lies, for a straight hour, and my husband sat there and listened to me just rant about the book because I had to make sure he understood the ending, because the ending just will live rent-free in my head for the rest of my life. It's so good. It was so captivating. I did not want to stop turning the pages. If you read the Mind F series, you would actually probably love Marrow. They're a little similar. She is a serial. She's like getting revenge on people, and he is like an FBI agent trying to figure out who is committing all of these. And he doesn't realize it's his girlfriend. That's not a spoiler. You know that like immediately in the book, okay? It is so, so good. 5 stars, lives rent-free in my head all the time. There will never be a day you don't hear me stop yapping about Does It Hurt by H.D. Carlton. I think about this book probably an unhealthy amount of times every single day, okay? Enzo is literally just living rent-free in my head. So he is a shark expert. She is kind of like on the run. She takes people's identities and kind of tries to like stay hidden. Well, they end up being together. She takes his identity. He finds out about it. She does not realize he knows though, so she agrees to go on his boat with him one last time. So they go out on his boat together. They end up getting stranded on an island, okay? And on the island, there is a lighthouse with a very, very creepy old man living in the lighthouse. It's dark romance, so it's very spicy, but there's also like a thriller suspense plot line as well. So you're turning the pages for the romance, but also for the plot. So those are my 5-star standalone romances I will recommend until my very last breath. I love each and every one of them. Some of those should also be on Kindle Unlimited, but even if they're not, I personally totally think they're worth the purchase because they're in my head rent-free.
There's a new My Little Pony movie coming out in 5 weeks.
How excited are you?
I'm very excited.
What do you say we keep these good vibes going?
'Cause time wasn't in our favor. This isn't goodbye, this is simply see you later.
She is the torture I may not survive. Eagerly, she is my undoing.
A field of dreams engulfed in fire. Your arson.
But I think I lost it, said that I was fine, said it from the coffin. Remember how I died when you started walking? That's my life, that's my life. I put up a fight, taking out my earrings, but you know the vibe, but you know the feeling. It's just for the night, catch me on your ceiling, that's your price.
You're on the phone with your girlfriend, she's upset, she's going off about something that you said. She doesn't get your humor like I
don't want to be. I want to spend my life savings on this. I want to abandon all financial responsibility and dump it in